The 2006 heinous Nithari killings. Main accused was sentenced to death. 20 years later, Koli walks free. If not him, who was behind Nithari? As main convict walks free after 20 years.
Hello and welcome. You're watching Explained by NewsX. My name is Vineet Malhotra and today we are talking about acquittal of Nithari serial killer Surinder Koli. Well, as the year of 2006 was ending on the 30th of December at about 9 a.m., Noida Sector 31 residents Jabulal and Papulal claimed to have hit upon the answer to solve the mystery of missing children who disappeared from the area over the past 22 months. What was discovered left the country shocked. The municipal drain behind house number D5 contained mortal remains of some of the missing children. The discovery of these drains exposed a series of horrific crimes, missing children, human remains, and suspicions of grotesque murders in a neighborhood where multiple families had lost girls or young women. The story begins in May 2006 when Nandlal's daughter Payal disappeared. Jabu's 10-year-old daughter Jyoti and factory worker Pappu's 8-year-old girl Rachna also go missing in 2006. On court's orders, an FIR gets registered where the owner of the house number D5, Pandher, is implicated. But the discovery of 16 human skulls and skeletal remains of these children in the Nithari drain changed everything. The police arrested the household help Surinder Koli, who worked for Moninder Singh Pandher. In 2007, the case was taken over by the Central Bureau of Investigation. CBI then files the first charge sheet and multiple FIRs based on Koli's alleged confessions, recoveries of skulls and bones, and testimonial and forensic material. He was arrested for killing 13 girls and young women aged 5 to 25 with allegations of cannibalism and necrophilia. The first charge sheet stated that employer of Koli and owner of house D5, Pandher, was not involved in the killings. Nandlal, the father of the missing woman, Payal, withdrew the statement implicating Pandher. However, at the trial courts, Koli and Pandher were both convicted in several cases. In 2009, a special court found them guilty in the Rimpa Haldar murder case and Koli was sentenced to death. Let's understand a little bit about Surinder Koli's life. He was born in 1970 in Almora in Uttarakhand. He married Shanti Devi in 1998. He was the father of 2 children. In 2003, he moved to Noida for work as a cook. In 2005-2006, he worked for Moninder Singh Pandher. Subsequent trials between 2009 and 2017 also led to multiple convictions and death sentences against Koli in many of the cases. Let's look at the list of his crimes. Well, Payal was the only adult victim in the string of serial murders. Young girls constituted the majority of the victims. Post-mortem reports of the 17 sets of skulls and bones recovered showed that 11 of the killed were girls. Doctors at Noida Government Hospital revealed that there was a butcher-like precision in the chopping of the bodies. The post-mortem reports revealed that there had been a pattern in the killings. It was also concluded that there were 19 skulls in all, 16 complete and 3 damaged. The bodies had been cut into 3 pieces before being disposed of by the servant. When in 2007, CBI took over the case, they discovered serious lapses on the part of the police in handling the cases of the missing people. The reports were incriminating and proclaimed that the local police failed in their duty to respond to complaints over the past 2 years. Police also believe the murders are for organ transplant, but the discovery of several polythene bags containing parts of human torsos led the investigators to conclude that it was unlikely that the accused had links to illegal organ trade. The CBI team discovered the bags in the drains outside the Pandher residence. After interrogating Surinder Koli, they came to a prima facie conclusion that he is a psychopath who used to carry out the killings. Between 2010 and 2012, Koli received 5 more death sentences for murdering several minors in Nithari. Pandher was later acquitted, while Koli's death sentence was upheld by higher courts. In 2015, Koli's sentence was commuted to life imprisonment due to delays, though he was again sentenced to death in another case in 2019. Despite all of these evidences and procedures, around October 2023, the Allahabad High Court held that the prosecution's case was fatally weak in many of the matters. The High Court held that key confessions were involuntary or unreliable, and that the recoveries of skeletal remains from the drain behind D5 did not comply with the legal requirements under Section 27 of the Indian Evidence Act, and that there was not sufficient evidence to connect Pandher to the acts. The High Court therefore acquitted both Koli and Pandher in many of the cases. Finally, in November 2025, the Supreme Court allowed Koli's curative petition in the last remaining case. The bench observed that the same evidence which had been rejected in the other cases could not sustain the remaining conviction without causing a manifest miscarriage of justice. Through this judgment, Koli was acquitted in all remaining cases and ordered to be released immediately if not required in any other matter. What emerged from the judgment as the key finding was this. First, the prosecution relied heavily on a confessional statement recorded under Section 164 of the Criminal Procedure Code and on recoveries based on that statement. In many instances, the courts held that the statement was made during unauthorized detention without adequate safeguards, and that the magistrate who recorded it did not ensure voluntariness. This meant that the confession was not reliable. Second, the recovery of bones and skulls from the public drain behind the house on the basis of the accused's disclosure did not satisfy the requirements of Section 27 of the Evidence Act. The courts pointed out that the area was publicly accessible and that the accused did not have a unique access to that location, which weakened the link between the accused and the recovery. Third, the forensic evidence and chain of custody were poorly documented. The investigating agencies were criticized for their delays, misplacement of samples, and lack of proper linkage between recoveries and accused. Exhibit A being no blood match or other conclusive forensic proof that would establish the accused were the perpetrators beyond reasonable doubt. Fourth, witness testimony was inconsistent in many instances, with contradictions and lack of direct eyewitness identifying the criminal acts. The courts held that in the absence of adequate direct evidence or reliable circumstantial evidence, the conviction could not stand. Fifth, the judicial orders emphasized that public outrage and the apparent horror of the crimes cannot substitute for proof of guilt beyond reasonable doubt. The Supreme Court held that suspicion, however grave, cannot replace proof. This outcome does not mean that the crimes did not happen or that injustice did not occur. It means that the legal system found that the state failed to prove who was responsible with the required certainty and safeguards. For victims' families, this remains a deep wound. Justice in the sense of accountability still feels incomplete. In closing, it is worth reflecting on the fact that criminal law demands structure and procedure even when faced with the most horrific crimes. The historic verdicts in this case underscore that without rigorous investigation, meticulous forensics, reliable witnesses, and strict adherence to legal safeguards, the guilt of an accused cannot be upheld. For the Nithari case, the final chapter may be the acquittal, but the lessons for the investigative and judicial machinery are long-lasting. We take a short break. We'll be back.
Heinous Nithari killing. Main accused was sentenced to death. 20 years later, Koli walks free. If not him, who was behind Nithari? As main convict walks free after 20 years.